Welcome, and thanks for joining me here as I take a look at a new microwave radar sensor. It's the RCWL-0516, and this is an exciting new product. I'm a little late to the party on this one. I discovered this several months ago, and I'm just now getting around to being able to find some time to test it. But very interesting. I think it's got some applications that we can find useful. I'm just getting ready for the upcoming convention season. I'm getting ready, a couple of my characters here, ready for the science fiction convention here in San Diego next month. And then in March I travel to St. Louis to put on a presentation for Animatronics at the big Trans World Halloween and Haunt show. So if you're interested in animatronics and want to see what I do to design and construct and program some of my characters, make sure to check out some of the other videos on my channel, subscribe, and you can follow me, and maybe we get an opportunity to share some good information. But for today, we're looking at sensors. Now, one of my favorite sensors to date, I trigger and control most of my characters with microcontrollers I've designed. So, but I use some form of a sensor, and usually I use passive infrared sensors, PIRs. And they're cheap and they work really well. They do require some debounce code to help settle them down a little bit. But they work really well, especially at night, so really good for the Halloween displays. But not quite so good in the daylight. I can make them directional like this. They're not very directional, big wide beam, but I build these little PVC containers to put them in so I can really control exactly where they're pointed. And I did a video on how I built these, and I'll put a link to that down in the description. But today we're looking at a new sensor, and it's a microwave sensor. And I got mine on Amazon. I'll put a link to that as well down in the description. And I got 5 of them for $10, free shipping under Prime. You can get those cheaper. I've seen them for $1 on eBay if you're willing to wait for the slow boat from overseas. But that's a way to save even more money. But they come in a panel, at least mine did, 5 of them like this. You just score down the line there and then put them on a firm surface, and you're able to crack those off and get them individual. Then it's just a simple matter of putting some header pins in. I've designed mine, or put mine together a couple different ways, straight headers, and with the 90-degree headers, just depending on how you're going to mount these, determine which one works best for you. Now, it does have a spot for 5 pins here. You're only going to use the 3 middle ones. You're not going to use the 2 outside pins. And all you need to do is supply it with 5 volts, which my controller does, ground, and the sensor wire. One thing, if you're using a 3 conductor wire like these with the headers we use so often, you will need to switch the pin out on the side that attaches to your sensor. The controller, it's ground, you can see it here, ground, power, and then output. On the microwave sensor, you have to have ground, signal, and then power. So you will have to make that quick little change out on the other end of it. But let's take a look at this. This is really a neat little sensor. Again, they're cheap. They're easy to program. All it is looking for a high. If it sees a high, it triggers off, in this case, I've got a little LED set up here just to show when it's triggering. So really easy to set up. Good range. I'm getting between 10 and 12 feet pretty reliably. And it very sensitive. Maybe that's its biggest drawback, at least for me, is this sensor it senses in 360 degrees. It doesn't matter if I'm behind it, back here, triggering it off. If I'm out in front of it, triggering it off, above it, or even down below it. I can put my hand under this table and it'll still sense it. That's all that's moving is my hand triggering that. Trying to keep the rest of my body really quiet, and that's just my hand moving underneath this heavy table, and it still triggers it. So For me, I need to rein these guys in a little bit. This works in this configuration really good if you want to set this in a room, you don't know which direction your guests are coming, you want it to trigger off a light or an effect when they come into a room from any direction. You know, this setup just like this works really good. You can put it in with your controller. You know, I use Tupperware containers a lot of times to house mine. It'll shoot right through the plastic, and it makes a very nice, compact installation. But for me, I wanted to be able to get some directional control out of it. So I started messing around, and of course I started with PVC pipe. Didn't seem to have much effect. It shot still in 360 degrees all the way through here. So that didn't work so good. I even tried wrapping it in multiple layers of aluminum foil. That didn't help. I tried aluminum cans, putting it in the base. Didn't seem to make much difference. Metal conduit connectors still was shooting through these and picking up through these. So what I put together is I got some 1/8 inch angle. I didn't have any U-shape, so I just made my own, put a couple pieces together, and actually went so far as to bend over the top and the bottom and embed that sensor into that. And now that allows me some directional control. It keeps it from triggering from behind and above, and I can get some form of aiming in here. So I'll continue to work on this and see if I can clean this up, get a better install, check some other designs. But for now, I think this little sensor is pretty exciting. Gets a passing grade for me. You might want to check it out to see if it may solve some of your problems in getting your controllers to trigger off in your applications. So if you have any questions, please put them down below in the comments. I'll see if I can get to them and answer them the best I can. Again, please check out the channel, subscribe so that you can see what I come up with in the future. And until the next video, hope you have a great day.